us. Yeah. It didn't work there. What up? What up? Hey, hey, hey. What's going on?
What's up?
Good evening. I guess we it did not work going to the page. So we're on our page, Nosotros, Facebook and YouTube as well. So we'll get the post put in to that event page and you guys can come over and join us over here. So good evening. Thursday night, right? How's everybody doing out there?
Oh, good. Am I in the show?
You are in the show, Gilbert. It's all
Oh,
about you today, man.
oh shit. Okay, I didn't know we was already there. I didn't know.
We are there,
I'm
man.
glad I wasn't picking my nose or nothing like that.
So we decided to work today's little show and talk to Gilbert Uribe over here to my right, possibly your left, depending on your perspective. And Gilbert's been with the band Nosotros for quite a number of years. We go back with each other all the way to Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is where the majority of us met and sort of the core foundation of the band started. Um, and yeah, we figured we'd maybe start talking to some individual members of the group and get their perspective over the 26 years that the band's been around. Some have been along for the whole ride, some have joined in later, but I think a lot of us have been influenced, or not influenced, but have known about the group. And our friendships kind of run deeper than the band sometimes because we knew each other sort of outside of the music world as well and that scene. And I figured we'd go ahead and start with Gilbert, a little bit tonight and get his perspective on stuff. He ran sound for us in the very beginning of his sort of career with the band. Um, he's an amazing musician, plays bass in the band mainly, but all around solid musician. And it'd be good to get some of his perspective on the band. We figured maybe it gets no holds barred, right? Because a band being around 26 years, right? There's been a lot of ups and we've had some great times. There's also been downs, and maybe we'll talk about a few of these things that have happened. Some of us have made transitions in and out of the band, throughout its career. And luckily, the band has welcomed us back with open arms, But anyway, let's chat with Gilbert a little bit, man. So, Gil, when did you join Nosotros?
Oh man, let's see. It was oh man. This is weird whenever I think about me joining Nosotros because it goes back the it's not really a good memory at all, but it was in 2001, right? Is that when 9/11 happened?
Yeah,
September 11th,
yeah,
2001. I remember that because when I joined the group, like Randy said, I was a sound engineer, and my transition happened pretty quickly. Like I was offered to come work with the band, and literally a week later, I was out. Like I moved away from Las Cruces and was like, I may go work for Nosotros. I'm gonna be the sound engineer. And so when I moved, I didn't have a place to stay. I stayed on Shane, who is our guitarist, who's been in the group since the passing of Jeff, the original guitarist from back when the group was a flamenco quartet. I was saying he was living with my brother and our friend Keith Rockwell, and the three of them, and then the rest of the band, like Randy and Dave, had a house right next door. We called it the Hannett House, and I stayed on the couches in between the two houses because they lived right next door to each other. So, and then my brother lived with Shane, so I stayed at that place mostly, but I would go back and forth until I was able to find my own place with some friends that I went to school with from Las Cruces that were up here in Albuquerque and all that. So, and I remember sleeping on the couch and Keith waking me up. It was like 5 a.m. or something like that. It was early, or maybe it could have been. I'm not sure exactly. You know, for musicians, early
Quite
as
a number of years.
you know, and I just remember him turning on the TV and saying this just happened, and it was the Twin Towers in New York, and they were smoking from the top, and it was just really crazy. And I had already been with the band for like a few months, running, well, probably about a month or two, and because we were just gigging so much, I didn't really take too much time to look for a place. The place that I found ended up just kind of happening, it working out. I was like, I need a place, but yeah, so I just remember that morning, and so it was from 2001. I remember being part of the band, and now it's 2020, so 19 years down the road, a lot of memories, like you said, good and bad.
19 years?
19 years now, like pretty much, and that's like, but yeah, I remember that because when I talked to Dennis about that, he was like, him and Justin weren't living in Albuquerque just yet; they were still traveling back and forth.
Right.
And yeah, I remember that. Like, there's going back to it all. Originally, just being a musician, and we're still fans of music. Like we're fans. Like we have artists that we love and stuff, and we still fan out. We're inspired by them. So my introduction to the band, I was my older brother Raul. Everyone knows him as Gordo. He's a metalhead, and a lot of the people in the metal scene, original bass player Chewy Juan Lucero, was also metal and stuff. So like I always remember being the little brother that just wanted to be around the musicians, like me wanting to be a musician. Like it was like these are the guys in town to know. And I remember hearing the first. Let's get into it. Hold on, okay. Why is it not?
Oh, what you got? Whoop. What you got for us?
Why is it not playing now? Hold on.
We had it all worked out. We rehearsed.
Right.
I was watching that Beastie Boys documentary on Apple Music, and they did there was some stuff they felt, and they were like, "We rehearsed, man," and they just kind of flowing. It was pretty cool. Highly recommend that. But yeah, so what you gonna put up?
This one right here. Let's see who remembers this one. Whoa!
All right.
Why is it not wanting to play? That is so crazy. A minute ago, we played it and checked it out, and it was doing good.
I believe you, man. I heard it.
Okay, I'll just download it then.
Of course,
It's funny. It wants me to download my own band's music.
Cool. You should buy it. You should support them, bro.
See, this is one from the archives right here.
Okay.
And going back to this, I remember hearing this track.
See if I remember this song. Dang.
This is off of the first No Sauce. Like, who remembers Paloma, So I remember hearing this CD and being like, whoa, dude, this is heavy. Like, no one was really doing flamenco in Cruces at all. And it was in the time when everybody, like, discovered... you guys discovered and turned a lot of people onto like Paco de Lucia and the bass player Carlos Benavent and stuff like that. And then I remember a lot of the metalheads getting into Jaco Pastorias. And so it was just like, yeah, like there was all this influence coming in from different places. And being the younger brother, hearing all this, you're just like, oh, whoa, this is crazy. This is cool. And I remember hearing this track and was just like, yo, these dudes are bad. And I remember seeing you guys at Great American. Y'all remember Great
Yeah,
American on
man.
Salon?
Before Chameleons,
Yeah,
man.
before Chameleons and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I wasn't even 21. It was like an all ages thing. You know, you had Crux Fest and all that stuff. I was always pretty tapped in to the music scenes wherever I am. Even like I said, not just being a musician, being a fan. Like you want to get to know who's playing around town and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird how the 6 degrees of separation, like everybody kind of knows each other and everybody's kind of tied in. With this original group, I remember meeting Chewy from the metal scene and then Jeff Watkins at Hubbard's.
A
Because
word.
my father shopped at Hubbard's regularly all the time.
My homie.
And so we would go to Hubbard's. I remember going to Hubbard's for like Christmas parties and stuff when Mr. Hubbard was still alive. And it was, where is it? It was off of Paseo, but it was in the big shopping center where they used to have an Pros Ranch Market. You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the grocery store that was there, but it was in that location and all that. And I remember that because Jeff was always really cool. We'd go into the store and being young kids, me and my brother, we would just pick up shit and want to play it. And, you know, he was always... So knowing and hearing that, it was just like, yo, you know, these dudes, you know, you kind of want to be like them. And I would have never thought now, 19 years down the road, you know, being part of the group and all that stuff. But hearing this album, on this track, you got Shane, who's still with us now. You hear a lot of the influence of what was going on with like the metal and all that stuff, because everybody deep down was still metalheads. You know, I mean, even me, everyone was into Maiden and all that stuff. So you hear that influence, and then Dave, being kind of just a legend musician, like Dave Diaz was just a dope sax player. And another way he's tied to me is that my brother's good friend, Michelle Sterling, they're cousins. It was Melissa, Michelle, R.I.P. Melissa. That they were family, and so that's how I had heard of Dave and all that. So when hearing this track and all that, it was just kind of like, these are some dope musicians from Cruces kind of doing their own thing. Never heard this before, and was like, cool, you know. I'm an inspiring musician myself, so I didn't, you know, I was just kind of doing my own thing. And then years down the line, let's give a shout out to Triple Jack. It used to be the House Rockers. I was playing with the House Rockers.
Word.
And then Randy came to our patio. Shout out to our patio. We're going to do, you can call me Shout Out. That'll be my nickname because we're going to be doing a lot of shout outs with this history here.
Right?
Like
I mean, right. We're from Las Cruces,
right,
you know,
but
originally.
The whole scene is like tied together. You know what I mean? There's a lot of relationship, because even too, you got Orly Vi that was in the House Rockers. He's a big metal fan, and everybody, you know what I mean? So it all comes full circle. I met James because that was my best friend's primo, and him and A-Train were the House Rockers. So I was playing with the House Rockers, and I remember you coming to the show at our patio in Mesilla, and we had talked, and that's when that whole conversation took place. You know, we're in Albuquerque now, and we're doing things. You had told me about Chris Trujillo.
Man, I remember that talk actually at
And
El
like,
Patio.
yeah,
Like, I remember it was like, well, I remember just the very end of it for some reason. Like me and Dave, it was me and Dave hanging, and you did some. You had helped us out. I think you helped us load out some stuff, man. Like,
yeah.
right, you just grabbed some things, and we're cool, and we were, you know, partying, having some beers, like, because we could hang out after they closed the bar if we were breaking down. So, you know, right, it's in your best interest if you want to stay a little bit. You grab a couple things, you take it out to the car, you know, and you can kind of. I'm with the I'm with the band. You got some stuff, and then you kind of did all this stuff, and I think, you know, we were just like, I looked at Dave, I was like, hey man, we should ask Gil, like, if he wants to come and help us out up here in Albuquerque, man. You know, like, I mean, I was like, we could use the help, you know, and he seems like a young buck, like he's right, you know, like, I don't know, you know, and dude, we were all young, like, we act like you were so much younger. You're not that much younger, man,
right,
you know, but like we were, you know, we were just kind of.
At the time, though, I was the youngest member of the group when
but
I'm
right.
only like, I think with between everyone, there's only a 5 years age difference because.
Yeah, you know, so we're not.
But I've always tried to strive to hang out with my brother's friends. Just everyone being older, I learned a lot from that, and being part of this group. That was the thing that was for me. That when I was offered to be the sound engineer, my father had a sound company And well, he still does sound and stuff, but he rolled with Crucis Band for a long time, so I saw the ins and outs of that, of like what it really took. So I understood what you were asking of me, and it was just that, like, I was just in Crucis, kind of chilling, not really doing anything. I do remember, actually, I was working with Court Youth Center, and I got you guys to come to the elementary school and perform because they were doing something there, and it was something with Spain. And I was like, yo, I know these dudes. They play some Spanish music. They got some flamenco.
Right, but we
And
didn't
you
even
guys
know,
came.
like
And
what we
then
were
after
doing.
that, it was like you guys would come through, and you were playing like Oregon Mountain Brewery down off of Picacho and all that
Right.
stuff. And all that. So when you offered me, hey, you want to come live in Albuquerque, and we're gigging regularly. We got Santa Fe. All this stuff was happening. You had told me Chris Trujillo, and with the House Rockers, House Rockers, Southern Rock, we did a lot of Black Crowes. And you're like, yeah, he played percussion with Black Crowes. I'm like, oh shit, that's all I need to hear. He played with a lot of heavy cats, but for me, that was what I was like, oh, dude, this is serious. So I was kind of like, doors are opening up for them, and as well for me. Like, so in a way, I was like, I'm gonna jump on that bus and see where it takes me. And now we're 19 years down the road, and yeah, I'm really grateful for that, because it was just more like, you got to try new things. And I wasn't ever expecting to be the bass player, but now I've been the bass
Right.
player.
And then like right, so you kind of got this hookup. You kind of were thinking, yeah, no problem. What am I doing here? And yeah, you literally did come up, and I remember you living right next door, kind of hanging on the
Right.
couch, and you
We'd have
kind of were
rehearsals in
just
the garage. We'd play
yeah,
in the
yeah.
garage. I'd come set up
And
sound and like,
honestly, bro, I'd seen you play a little bit more percussion, like in the House Rockers, right? Like, and I'd seen you do some
right.
stuff, and I hadn't really seen you actually play. And so I just I think for a while actually, which is kind of weird, even though you lived there, you just kind of never were like, I don't know, you came up for the gig of setting up sound and doing all this. You didn't come up to try to really be like, oh, hey, I'm going to try to play. I mean, even
Yeah.
though like that was, a lot of times people's coming into the band, it's all about, oh, I'm going to play with the band, and it's like, there's so many other facets to how a band runs. And you kind of sort of offered that help to run like that technical side of it. That's hard to do, right? Like the
Right.
loading of the sound, the running of the sound, and
Yeah.
making, what does that make the band sound like, right? And you
Right.
can be a fan of that too. And you do come from that school with your dad, Raul. Shout out to Raul. He
What's up?
him, Will Sadler, all those cats down from Las Cruces that we had all admired, we all known, and those guys were really into the sound because they wanted bands to sound awesome. They did
Right.
things, they brought sound to places in Las Cruces that made those venues rock because of the sacrifice those guys did. They took a little bit of money, of course, but dude, they hooked it up for
Yeah.
a
They were
sound
all
rental, dude.
phenomenal musicians as
All
well. Like, you got
phenomenal,
Kenny,
great
Will, those
ears, right? Yeah.
Will.
So
Shout
you
out to
came from
Captain
that.
Juki. Like, I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
did
right.
briefly. Like, I remember being like, I want to play keys with Captain Juki. Like back then, I wanted to just kind of play with everybody. To cut, you got to cut your teeth. You got to get in there, and you got to like
Right.
get the experience of being. It's different from practicing and being in your room and then being on stage in front of an audience that are there for you. You know what I mean? And so I took a lot of time when I was running sound, living with Shane. Shane practiced all the time. He still does practice all the
Still
time.
does, yeah.
And so I would pick his brain. He'd come out of his room, and I'd have my guitar, and I'd be playing, and I'd ask him questions and stuff like that, and just kind of got as much. Same thing with Justin and all that. I was like getting as much free lessons and free knowledge as I could, as everybody's also getting that knowledge themselves. Like Chris came in and showed D and Justin about clave and all that. That's where I learned clave. Like, you know what I mean? For me to step in and play bass, how I learned to play bass for the band was just watching and studying and listening and really being like caring about the music. Like I said, it comes down when you're a musician, you got to be a fan, even as a sound engineer. To do a good job, you got to be a fan about it and like what you're doing and all that. So hearing it, you're hearing everything come together. You're hearing the musicians grow, getting better. Like you're like, damn, you guys sounded good tonight. Like not just because I was running a sound, but like you guys were on fire. Like there was just energy and chemistry going on. You know what I mean? And yeah, even back when ran sound, but I would even go like, let's see, let's play this. Who can tell me? I got like classics and classics from the vault.
Let's check it out.
There was a place
I'm gonna
on
turn it over.
Central and Carlisle. It's like Tang Fang or something like that now. Used to be called Club Rhythm and Blues. Who remembers Club Rhythm and Blues out there, Albuquerque? And I would go to these gigs.
I do.
It was a Wednesday night, and they already had a sound engineer. George was the house sound engineer, and he was a great sound
George
engineer.
Ripley. Yeah, George Ripley.
Yeah. So I would just go and hang. I would go for the load in and the setup, and then I would hang out. And if they needed things, a lot of times when you're doing big shows, you have a monitor guy and you have a main guy. So I would kind of be like the monitor guy. I'd be the relay between, hey, they need more monitors, they need more guitars in the monitors. So they'd call me up to stage, tell me what they needed. I'd go back to George, be like, yo, this is what's up. This is what they're hearing. And just being part of all that. And these recordings here are from Club Rhythm and Blues. This is Dave on sax, R.I.P. Dave.
Was that some St. Thomas?
Some St. Thomas. Yeah, this track here, the band used to do a lot of Latin jazz. We still do some Latin jazz. But, doing Latin jazz with Dave was something else. But yeah, I got some classic cuts.
Wow, man, those are fun, man. Those that was kind of wild that George was recording those shows. I mean, we did a few shows there too, and it was like, hey, bro, I got some cool stuff for you guys at the end, and we're like, really? And then we heard these recordings, and he did a little processing, put some reverb, and I was like, what? We've got like a whole recording of the night, and oh my God, man! Like we used that stuff to get gigs for sure. It gave us material. But yeah, so yeah, right.
Before we had the technology. Really
so and yeah, you would just come out and hang out at Club Rhythm and Blues pretty much and help us get in and out, right? But you then kind of sit back there with George, right, and chill. And those are crazy.
Wednesday, we've always managed to get, which we haven't had in a while, just because economy, everything kind of changes with the industry and all that.
Yeah.
But we would get these residency gigs. We would get Wednesday night was Club Rhythm and Blues, and then we did. Friday night, originally, when you had hired me, you were like, yo, we're doing Brewster's every Friday night. And then you had just gotten the Hilton thing. And we were like, yo, we're trying to do this. So it was like, we would go set up before the Hilton, like hella early, like at 2, 3 in the afternoon. We would go set up at Brewster's down, which is now the library.
Mm-hmm.
For those that don't know. It's now the library where you salsa dance.
Oh man, and Steve Brewster passed away recently too. I just heard that. So anyway, R.I.P. Brewster.
Right, a lot of crazy. We're doing a lot of shout outs tonight, just because we wouldn't really be where we are without all this experience and all these people that have helped along the way and everything. Especially, that's how I feel as far as me being a bass player. It all kind of comes around full circle. Like it's like I wouldn't necessarily change a single thing. I'm pretty happy where I'm at and what we've accomplished as a band together and stuff like that, and everything I've learned.
I agree.
As a musician, I mean, even with the ups and downs, it's like it all helps with growth. You know what I mean? But yeah, when I used to do this, I remember the lineup was. Oh no, so back to the Brewster's thing and Brewster's. You would hire me because you were like, we just picked up this. Gig at the Hilton, which is now the something suites, the Manolan University. It used to be the Tall Hilton there, and it was supposed to be 6 to 9 from at the Hilton, and then 9:30 to close at Brewster's. So we would go to Brewster's beforehand and set up like drums. We had like that's the thing. Everybody always had like extra gear, so we would set up the one drum set there. And then I remember like staying behind and packing up all the stuff at the Hilton and then meeting you guys down because they had Elliot. Was it Elliot? Was the sound engineer at Brewster's? You guys had a sound engineer down there. And so
it was Elliot. No, it was Elliot, but what's the other guy's name? Oh
man.
Alan, because we were talking about Alan the other day.
Okay, yeah. So like it was just like one right after the other. And like that was, and then all of a sudden the Hilton thing blew up. Like the Hilton thing became a big party. I remember that too because we with me being on sound, we bought like 100-foot snake, and we got subs, and we had the trailer with the two axles, and like we went all out. Like we were really, it's great now that they make gear a lot smaller now, and like you don't have to, they make it a lot more easier on the back and muscles, and all that. But we really had, for as big as we were, we've always been a pretty big band, but now we've managed to kind of manage things a lot better now with the gear, and like it's not as big. Like I remember having to load out like the dual 18 subs onto the trailer and stuff like that, and we had it like triumphed, and it was like damn. And then as the more as we grow, we were kind of like let's relook at this and stuff, to try to get it a little bit easier, because that's the one thing too, is like playing and performing on stage is fun and easy. It's that the setup of the sound and all that stuff, the prior to and the afterwards is really where
That
all the
gets
work.
really tough,
That's
man.
really where the work is, because you really, that's where you're, even for this show that we did, you and I got together an hour before we started streaming this, so we can work out volume and just make sure everything's going on, and like
Yeah, and
get that
imagine
to
then we're carrying like 50-pound speakers because you're right. We had all that crazy stuff, and
right, yeah,
it's nice nowadays because everything's so small. It's a computer,
yeah,
basically. It's cool. It's gotten better, but I know that was kind of a lot of things too. As we were living up there on Comanche, right? We'd
yeah,
have to take the gear. We were doing 2 gigs on Fridays that you would be really responsible for. You'd have to come with us early, set up Brewster's, then you'd go over to Hilton, ran that. We always had to worry about people tripping over stuff, all these things
right,
that you watched. Then we'd go do Brewster's, play all night. By the time we get home, 2, 3 in the morning, it's a whole Friday, right? And we was like, wow. But I could see
right,
like that's definitely can make be stressful, and trying. And I think for a lot of people, we're all maybe dealing with things in different ways, right? And I think for you, it was kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to be so much a sound guy, Brody. Which I don't blame you, man. Like that kind of job. Plus, for what we could offer you, it was rough, and I think yeah, you being a musician, I think, you always had that drive to play. You weren't just going to be a sound guy, I don't think, forever. I don't think any of us ever thought you'd be just a sound guy, but I don't think I really knew like what kind of musician you really were until like, I don't know, a little bit later on. But it wasn't even until like after I think maybe you had left, and if you can talk about how we got there, because you eventually kind of left the role of running sound and loading,
right.
helping us, doing all that stuff. And I think you moved back to El Paso, right? Or you moved
Well, I
to El
moved
Paso?
back to, yeah. I was in Cruces, but I was with let's see, we were playing Garrett's Desert Inn in Santa Fe. If y'all know Garrett, the G Spot, Garrett's Desert Inn. We had a regular thing there too, and we were playing there. And shout out to Julio Ortiz out in El Paso, and
Yeah.
Ernesto Tinajero from Radio La Chusma. They had El Camino, and Julio hit up Shane and was like, "Yo, we want to go play up in Santa Fe." So we did a double show at the G Spot and with Nosotros and El Camino, and that's when I met Ernie and Julio and Charlie Villanueva. Shout out to all them Chuco Town homies. Um, and that's when I we linked up, and it was kind of like I was always been into reggae and stuff, and I was kind of like, I want, I'm playing guitar. I've been learning a lot from Shane as well, so my guitar playing had gotten better. Because when I left the House Rockers and Cruces, I had started playing percussion with them, but I moved over to guitar, like as a rhythm guitarist and stuff like that. And so I wanted to kind of get back into playing guitar. I always played bass, but back going back and forth, I was really digging reggae guitar, and so I ended up leaving and going and quitting 91.5 MXM with Radio La Chusma, and so I'm on that album and went and played with them for like a year, and then when I moved back, that's when you guys had asked me like if I wanted to step in on bass, and I'm not really sure exactly. I know Justin went and Justin was gonna start playing with somebody. I thought it was Ryan McGarvey, but he said that it wasn't the
Yeah,
first
I'm all
time.
confused now
He
on
said it
that.
was
Like,
the second time, but I thought he went twice. But
He
when
went
he stepped
twice.
away, I ended up stepping in. Dave Diaz was like, "Yo, you play." Me and him would always hang out and like talk about Tower of Power and all these funk bands and stuff like that. And we'd listen to Macy. Like that was a thing. Whenever we would go to gigs all the time, we would be listening to like Maceo Parker, Life on Planet Groove, on the way to Santa Fe and stuff like that. And like that was a big album that we passed around the band and stuff. There was a lot of
Uh-huh.
music that everybody was
Right.
like into and stuff. So like when it came to that, it was kind of they were like asking me because again, it was like a natural thing of like, well, he knows the music, he's familiar, like he knows what's going on. Like I've already been there with the group, the whole vibe of us. There is kind of a thing with the core of the group being from down south in Cruces and El Paso and all that. Like we have that history. There is like a little family bond there. You know what I mean? I've always felt it just because, like I said, I grew up around these people. Going back to when you had asked me to join the group, the lineup was Felipe, Dave, and then you, Shane, Dennis, and Justin. And knowing, oh, Dave, like, damn, I would love to go and just kind of, study this dude and be around, kind of
Right.
pick his head. But I knew Justin, like Justin and my cousin Jared and Chris, when they were little kids, they were like best friends. So I've known Justin McLaughlin and who Justin McLaughlin was for a long time. So I was already like I felt compelled by that. I was like, well, I know Justin. Like I feel close, not super close, but I felt close enough that I'm like, this dude knows my family. You know what I mean? And like so there was things already that, and then Dennis too went to school with my primos from DA, everybody from DA, Doniana, shout out,
Da.
Scuba Rubia, my cousin Isi, or actually my cousin Isela, Davina. Well, yeah, we knew her as Davina because that was growing up. That was Davina, but at school, she's Isela. So, but Dennis went to school with her and stuff like that. So like there was all that. Like there's all this kind of like I said, 6 degrees of separation. Like everybody knows somebody that knows somebody, and like so it felt very chill and it was very like welcoming. You know what I mean? And then yeah, so stepping in on bass, it was kind of more like of a natural thing of like, yeah, I'm familiar with the music.
I
You already kind of know how serious I take it when it came to that. When you guys hired me for sound, it was like, well, we got to get this and let's get this, and we really
yeah.
upgraded things. That photo I had posted earlier, that was like my first sound gig with you guys. Like you had asked me, and you're like, we'll be back in a week to do a private gig. It was either a wedding or a private something at the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum in Cruces. And that was the first gig I did, and I ended up that Sunday when you guys left town. I drove up.
Is that picture that you
That's that
shared
picture.
earlier?
Yeah, that's
So
like my
that's
first. That's like my first sound
your
gig.
first official gig, huh?
Yeah. Well, we
Oh
did a couple.
wow,
Actually, I remember coming back like a couple weeks right
that's
after
funny.
that. We were doing a lot of like we still do travel and stuff, but we were doing a lot of traveling. Summertime is really like
Oh,
that. So, but yeah. So like stepping in, it felt kind of like, well, yeah, of course, I would love to
no,
do
and
that.
I remember like it seemed like when you when you left the sound gig, you took off and you were jamming with Radio, and you were doing some Liquid Cheese stuff too, right? Things
Right.
like that.
I linked up with Cheese too. Yeah.
Yeah, Liquid Cheese and all those guys from down there. And
Shout out
then
to Cheese.
I just remember though like okay, you were there and we had Justin and then you coming back and Justin went to tour with Ryan McGarvey and then we kind of brought you on bass. And yeah, and I just remember, dang, that was a pretty good fit. Like afterwards, that of course, you learned the music pretty quickly. Well, you kind of knew it
I had
already.
like it's always a week. Like
Yeah,
I had like a week or like
yeah, but I
workshops
mean,
this week.
you knew the songs. It wasn't like
Right.
when you left. I mean, we had some new stuff, but you picked it up really quick, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's swinging, and we swung slightly different. Just that kind of foundation does that.
That video I
So
posted of with Will Dog, that was
yeah.
like right. That wasn't. I had him in playing bass for too long. Like back
Hmm.
for that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, that wasn't that long, so that bass is pretty
No,
brand new, huh? No,
that
was
but
it?
no
Yeah, yeah.
the yeah that bass that he's playing, that's my bass. I had just gotten.
You
Shout
just
out to
kind of gotten
Hubbard's.
it.
Shout out to Hubbard's Music in Los
Hubbard's
Cruces.
music. Yeah,
Hubbard's,
man.
Drew Hubbard's and the Hubbard
Look,
family.
man, I got two Hubbard. I got two guitars from
See,
Hubbard's.
we have
That's
like I still
I
have
had
one.
that. That's 20 years, bro. That nylon string is almost like 19 years or something, dude.
Right.
and I bought it from them, Manuel Rodriguez, and dude, it's so. And then my telly, all my other gear. Those are guys like right coming from cruises. I think we were used to this sort of backing, right? Everybody sort of watched each other's back, and I think that's what when we did move up to Albuquerque and Santa Fe, I think that's why we kind of had an easier time because we kind of all had each other's backs, even though we were all individuals. We go somewhere else sometimes in our lives. There was still like, well, this is probably better. These people you can't keep them where they don't want to be, and so. But I just remember when you came back, then we started going from there, and then I mean, you've pretty much have jammed with us since then, right?
Well, I
That's what
stepped away too. I went to see, started going to C&M, and I stepped away. Justin stepped back in,
I don't
and then
remember
I
that. That's
stepped.
kind of strange. I don't know why.
When I actually too, yeah, going back to that, when I
I rem-
stepped in, I'd moved back from with Radio. We had done the commercial. I'm still trying to hunt it down. Cecilia Diaz or Cecilia Johnson. Shout out Dave's sister. I think you have a copy of it, like the only copy. So if you can get it to us, that would be dope. But the commercial that we did for the New Mexico Lottery Powerball, we had done the commercial and we recorded at Santa Fe Center Studios with Doug Geist, and I got to play congas on that one because, like you were saying, it was like I wasn't necessarily trying to play with the band, but whenever after I got like the sound rolling, I would like jump on the congas and kind of play around while Chris was playing timbales and trying to just learn and like soak up and get the vibe. And then, if something started happening, I would jump off the congas and then go fix the sound and then come back and just whatever to try to make the sound thicker as far as the lineup of the band. And yeah, so I remember getting to play congas on that recording and the commercial, and that's when you guys met Doug Geist and worked at Santa Fe Center Studios. I left to go with Radio, and in that process, you guys started recording Llena la Alma. And when I moved back, I remember going to, because that's what I was saying. The video with Wheel Dog was at Corazon or Willie's. I think it was Willie's, right? Willie's came
it
first.
was Willie's. It was
Yeah,
Willie's.
Willie's first, and then Corazon. It changed. And see, we used to do every Thursday night there too. We had a residency, and I remember going to Willie's to see you guys when I got back to town. And let's see if I play it right here. I remember going to the van
You're gonna
and
bust some
busting a little
Willie's
groove.
recording or what?
No, this is. I just remember getting in the van and you guys were like, "This is what we're working on right now," and it wasn't mixed. It wasn't mixed or done yet, but it was just like, "This is what we're recording at Santa Fe."
Oh,
And I remember this specifically because I was like, "Oh shit, that's Shane with the electric guitar again." Like getting back into that, where it was like it was used on the Nosotros album, but like it wasn't like utilized that much as it is now. Like now you go listen to Nosotros, Shane's playing electric guitar all the time. And
yeah,
so I remember hearing that and was like, oh shit, this is pretty heavy. Like this is really dope. Um, and
that's cool.
But
Yeah,
going back to that, actually, too, remember when you guys did the reunion? I remember talking about the recording of the first Nosotros album, the one there. I was still running your sound then. And then it was after that, like I went to San Jose Jazz Festival with you guys as your sound engineer the first time.
uh
And you
huh.
guys went back while I was gone. You guys played a second time out in San Jose while I was.
I don't know. I remember that. That's crazy.
Do
So
you
we
remember?
went twice to San Jose.
You guys went twice to San Jose. If
Why
I
is
remember
it?
correctly, I have pictures from the first time because we met Orestes Vilato and Carl Perazzo from, well, Carl's from Santana, but Orestes is just a legend in the Latin community as far as percussion,
I
timbales and
remember
stuff.
that, but like,
And
why?
we were with I
Oh,
want to
we
say
did go
Chris.
twice. We did
Yeah,
go twice. And I remember
yeah.
now,
Chris
dude.
was there both times, if I
Both
remember
times.
correctly. He was there both times. Um,
Aventura. Or
he
who
had
did we play
left.
with?
He left kind of right after when I
That
stepped
last.
in
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Basco after you guys left or after you released Llena la Alma.
I don't think he
No.
left because you came in either. I think
No, I know
no,
that. No, it
no. I
wasn't. It
think it was
was,
his time.
yeah,
Like
he went
again
back
too.
to
It was his
California.
time to go
He's
back to
with
Cali. You know.
Tierra and like a bunch of bad.
Oh man,
We were
no,
holding you back, Chris. We were holding you
no,
back.
yeah, yeah, no, no. Run, you're free, fly. We
Let you go.
we don't.
But
We wanted better for you.
right, just forget about me. But yeah, so he had that's when he had stepped away, and I remember when I came back in, I had to learn the stuff from Yena La Alma, like No Me Digas and all that stuff,
Oh
and I remember being like,
yeah.
do I have to learn the whole album? Are we doing all like that was the
And
thing?
we were like,
But
yeah,
I want to
have to
make
learn
sure
it note for note, bro. Do
note for note.
everything
Well, see,
note for note.
luckily, being a bass player, I would whenever you guys were playing, I would always listen to Justin and study Justin. I was always
Yeah,
like yeah, like feeling that, like.
yeah,
So to me, when it stepped in, it was kind of more like I'm just gonna try to mimic until I get my leggings and my footing down, and then I can start adding my own little flavors. But it was like I was trying to be like Justin, like I gotta sound get that tumbao swinging, and
yeah. No,
but
it was, man. Like there was a lot of continuity, so it wasn't like a weird
right, right. Well, the new
process.
bass
It wasn't
players,
like we stopped. We didn't stop. Like it wasn't like
right?
we missed any gigs, you know.
No, I don't think the band has ever really missed too many
No,
gigs.
I think
Maybe
there's only been like, dude, I think probably maybe four, maybe five have canceled just for, and those are like really hardcore, man. You know, when
right.
stuff went down, those canceled, and then now this whole pandemic just it was like hold my beer on all
Breaks,
those, like
emergency
you know.
break. It's all like
So you know, we're just here now, anyway. But yeah, so then you know, like when you came back in though, and you started playing bass, I think it kind of it started taking us in that different direction. We had lost Chris, so that changed up our sound too because we had went for a long time without congas, right? We didn't have
right,
really any percussion after that, so like our vibe changed a little bit. I think that's when we really kind of more switched to an electric sound too. We
right.
kind of I
I
think some of
stepped
it might have been like, wow, we're bringing, you know, we have these songs, but then we don't have these big enough stages, bringing out two guitars. Like, there was a lot of work to do with the show. And, you know, not to say that we're being lazy, but it's kind of like we didn't want to bring a guitar that like costs like a 800 to G. And
right.
dude, like that, we that was like our tool. And, you know, if it was going to be used, it's totally fine. But if it was sitting there for and only to be played like one or two songs,
Right.
so that's why Shane would do a lot of acoustic, and then he started moving over to electric slowly. And it was like, dude, you should just move it all over, just like get it,
Right.
and just that way you don't have to switch. It sounds really awesome when you go over. Plus, we're coming across better, like it seemed for the kind of volume we were doing. And you know, some people have said that about our volumes and stuff. Some people think, oh, bass is driving, oh, drums are loud, oh, guitars are loud. The thing is that I don't know. That's all perspective. For me, I love bass. I love low end. I love the drive of the kick, you know? Like I always feel like I'm a bass player at heart. I've had to fill your shoes for
Right.
nosotros at times, you know, and I do the same thing. I look at what you're playing and follow that. But I'm not a bass player per se. I just kind of know at least what the groove and the swing is, but I follow pretty much try to play what you've got to basically, you know, your basic outline. But you can kind of see where it just kind of does what it does, you know, like
Right.
that. And it's not an I don't know, like it just kind of changed from there with that your vibe, the drums, Shane on guitar, on me
Right.
on
Well,
tres. I
that went
started
to
getting
full
into
drum
electric
set.
tres. Yeah, right.
Because
And
at
we
one
kind
point, I remember when I first joined, it was like Dennis sat on a cajon, and then he had like a conga to the side, and then he had like half of a
and
drum set,
and then remember he used to do the
the
shaker and then he
shaker.
started hitting it and then he would always break it and there'd be all the
Right.
beads everywhere like he
Right.
was going through those shakers like drumsticks like
Yeah.
crazy.
And then Dave had the djembe. I don't know why he had a djembe. It's like in
he just
salsa music, it's like
he was like
djembe.
give me a big drum.
I don't know. Yeah, but like we definitely learned. We trimmed some fat and stuff, and
Yeah,
kept it rolling.
but then that I thought
But
that
the
added to it, you
drums,
know.
everything. I remember at one point we were just it was you, Shane, uh, Dennis, myself, and Dave. We were a five piece. We didn't have any percussion. Like there's a photo actually, that one that we took at the park there by the Comanche house, and yeah, the Comanche house was a big part when we had moved. Justin, shout out Justin McLaughlin, still lives there. He's carrying on the tradition, the legacy,
Yeah,
and but that house, it had a basement, and we would rehearse in there. And just having that, that was one thing I've always felt that we were um, really blessed with. We even still do it now, even though we don't live together, and everyone has set up their own creative space to keep music and to keep the creative juices flowing and stuff. And when we had those houses, there was a lot of creativity going around because there was instruments everywhere, and we had the capability to be all of a sudden to be like, hey, help me out with this idea real quick. Here, grab your bass, and like it was really cool. So I felt like, yeah, like I don't know, it's just always been a good vibe. I think too that's we've kept it in house. Like either I played bass or Justin or you now. Like when you cover for me, I think it kind
Yeah.
of helps with the tone and the sound because we know what we're going for. You've been there the whole time. Like you said, you listen to me. You're on the other side of the stage from me, and we're paying attention to what we play. Like there's been times when you were gonna cover for me on bass, and prior to that at a show, you were like, "Let me jump on bass on this one." And I jumped on your guitar, and was like, "Cool." And now we're switching up and all that. That's always been really fun. But I think it works so well because we know the music. We're there. We're internally. It's kind of harder when you have to hire someone and they have to learn all that fresh because there's a lot of stuff to it. Like
It's a
I've had to
lot of
hire
stuff, man.
bass players for whenever I've done gigs with Joseph General Band, and it's been tough having to get all that material ready and be like, yo, this is kind of what they're expecting. But I learned a lot that from this group of working with this band specifically is I learned a ton of things that I take with me and I apply in other situations because of that, because it is a teamwork thing. And it's like you got to think about that. Like
Go team.
there's parts that roles that everybody plays, so it is kind of like important. Like you can't just step in and be like, well, I'm gonna play this bass line. You're like, well, that's not how the bass line goes. It's kind of important that you play this.
Oh man.
And like and that's where that
Yeah,
comes in where
that's
it's
so
like
important. That
they
vibe. It doesn't matter
understand
which
that.
band you're in.
Right.
Even if you're doing reggae or whatever it is, that flow, you have to have that for. And it's like easy to say, oh well, you got to listen to it, right? It's not like some of us aren't trying to listen. I mean, you have to really expose yourself to it. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you were really exposed to nosotros,
Right.
so it
We
was
always
really
try to
wild.
be.
Like when you came in on bass, like you did a lot of things that Justin had to actually learn to do
Right.
because he didn't know those. And then
Right.
you got to watch those because you didn't know that about bass. Although you came from the school of funk and you were all
Right.
about that, that whole swing was something different that you had to learn. And even for
Right.
me, I had to learn that from you because I didn't know what that was all about either. Like
Right.
I knew there was a feel, but what do
Seeing
we
we
do?
learned all
You know?
that from Chris too, like him
Right,
coming in
right.
and explaining what the difference in claves 2/3 and 3/2 and all that. It was like really putting
And
the
I heard he
seed.
learned that from a guy on this corner. No, not really.
He had to climb. I heard he
He
climbed
had
like a
to give
1,000-foot
$10.
mountain.
Yeah,
He
like
climbed a mountain for like
yeah,
6 days. It
yeah,
was a journey into
right. With the notebook, with the
right.
spiral notebook to
I'm like,
fend off.
I hope he never sees me play congas again, still, because my hand, I still that slap. Like
You
he
got
was like,
that. You got the little.
the slap was still. I
Oh,
can't get the
dude,
tone, but like my
dude,
wrist.
Chris loves that.
I'm like, yeah, my limpy slap there. Yeah, I actually found a video. I should post it. It's just really dark, but there's a video of when I did. It's actually from the night I was talking about when I heard part of Siempre. Um, I came and I had gotten that video camera. That's how I got the footage with Will Dog and all that stuff. Because shortly after the video that I took, it was Chris and Camilo were still playing, and the video is of you guys playing Hermosa, and Dave singing it, Dennis is singing backups and stuff, and it was just like you guys just were like we recorded this week, and this is for this album and all that stuff. So coming in, and then after that, like you guys released it, and then I having to learn all that stuff and playing it, and then shortly after that, that's when Will came in and did all that. But we were playing at Willie's, but it's at the video with Will is at Willie's, and then the video at or no the video with Chris and all that is at Willie's too. It's like the same exact setup and stuff. It's just like months later or something like that. Like it's a trip to see. And then Camilo's in the video too. Like shout out to Camilo Quinones because he's been around. He plays with us quite a bit. He's been on
Dude,
one of our
Camilo
albums.
Camilo's been around so long, right? Didn't you actually work with him at court back in Cruces at
No,
the
no,
same
no. It
right
was
or some
I
kind of
met
youth
him
thing?
in high school. Yeah, it was it Celebrate Youth or something like that. It was we come up from Cruces and it was at UNM, and he was with one of the jazz. He was in middle school because I shout out to my boy Anthony Kit Castillo out in Texas, really talented drummer that I met. I was in high school. I was like a freshman, and this cat was in middle school, and I met him at the whole enchilada fiesta when they still had it outside the mall.
Yeah.
And
Bro, people act like we ain't from Cruces, dude. We're
right,
like,
I
oh,
know.
well,
And my
remember
dad was,
Sierra?
oh, I went to Sierra.
Sierra,
I
I
went to
see,
Sierra
dude. Like, there's a,
when then Gordo went to Oñate when it was Oñate there and
Woo.
stuff, and then I went to the new Oñate, and at the enchilada fiesta, my dad was running sound for the youth set, like the youth stage, and he was on the youth stage, and he got up there and played to a Spyro Gyra CD, like note for note, and this
Like,
kid was
no
in the eighth grade,
problem.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
so I
man.
was like, so they gave me and him like an extra 10 minutes so we could. I used to carry my bass with me like everywhere, and me and him got up and jammed too. I did the bass line to "If You Want Me to Stay" by Sly and the Family Stone, and we just jammed, and that's how we had met, and so my madrina, Rosemary Kirby from at Oñate High School, we would take us to the Celebrate Youth. So he went with us. I was like, me and him are going to do a performance and stuff. And we went with my independent study program English class. And we go, and there's this big, it's like a middle school, high school jazz band. And there's Camilo also like in the eighth grade. I think him and Tone, like him and Kick are the same age, and he doesn't have long hair. Like he's got some ears and a shaved head, and he's conga player. He's got this big red conga. I remember like specifically because I was like, yo, it's old school. Like I think fiberglass shell, but like you can tell you're like that's a real conga drum. And he's like, I play congas with these dudes, and we linked up. We were like, hey, well, we're just gonna jam. Like, do you want to jam with us? And he's like, sure. So the three of us jammed, and then that's like I met Camilo and never talked to him again or never, you know what I mean? It's not like oh, let's stay in
Was it
touch. Oh,
amazing?
it was cool. No, it was really dope, but it was just kind of like just one of those passing things where you're like, we just jammed and I didn't know who this cat was, and then you hired me to run sound, and I'm living up here, and you guys are doing a show. Chris is playing percussion and all that stuff, and then Camilo comes up, and Chris is like, yeah, come on, mijo, and boom, and I'm like, I know this cat. I was like, you guys know this cat? And like, oh yeah, this dude comes out and he sits in whenever, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, we know. And I'm like, oh shit. So like again, where there's 6 degrees of separation, where like all of a sudden we know the same people. Like it just
Right.
kind of happened. And then Camilo's just been around with us forever. Like he's been on every album that we've done, that we've self-produced and stuff with Dennis Hauser
Yeah, pretty much,
out at
right?
FW Studio. Shout out to
Yeah.
our producer and
Oh,
our studio up in Santa Fe.
yeah.
He's but yeah, he's done every album
Yeah.
with us. So like
Yeah, no,
he's been
totally,
a
man.
bro for a long time and stuff. And it's weird because like I said, I met him when I was a freshman, and then like never, you don't ever think same thing. Like I would have never thought I would have been running sound or end up being the bass player for Nosotros. It was just like I'm gonna take this chance. I'm gonna go down this path,
Hmm.
and this ended up being the path. Like this was like the path for me. So it's kind of like
So
you
then
got to
when you
take those risks.
there was that time when you came back in right now and you're talking like Yana La Alma. We just put this album out, so you've got to learn
Right.
all this material and you got to play this. So then you didn't officially record any bass with us until we did some stuff right down in the basement. Like we did a couple of tracks down
Right.
there, and then like
We
Viboras,
demoed. Yeah, we
right? We
demoed
did some
Viboras
demo
was like
stuff.
the first one that we did. That was a
Did we?
song
And
that
then
I
and
wrote.
then right that you had wrote, you brought to the band, and
And
then
we had everybody got the BR, was it
right,
600? Everyone had like a
yeah,
BR 600 that was
man, it
like
was on the
SD
flash
cards,
drive.
1 gigabyte, like in the most impossible
Yeah, it
card
was
to find, 1 gigabyte
1 gig.
SD
Yeah,
card,
you
right?
couldn't do it
1 gig.
anymore. It
Yeah,
wouldn't read it. It'd be like whatever.
everybody had one, so we were like passing ideas around, and it
Yeah.
was one of those ones I came up with. So we started recording in the basement. Like that's actually too when Dennis started to get his footing into recording and all that, and then he ended up getting his certification and stuff with Pro Tools or whatever
Oh
it
yeah,
is
but
and
that
stuff like
yeah, it
that.
was a long
But
time.
that was
Yeah.
before we weren't even recording on computers there. It was like that wasn't until he moved like to Santa Fe, I believe. But that's
Right,
where
but
we
we did
started.
that. We did that from there. We did those demos, and we're like, okay, it's time to do a new album. I think we're gonna do like an EP. Like we were only gonna do like
Right.
5 or 6 songs. So then that's when we did Vede Sol, and that's your
Right.
official kind of first recordings. And we did that. I'm trying to remember that Manny would know this, but it's we recorded. Didn't we record at a different studio? We did, right, for that album
No, we did. I thought we were recording it at Dennis's, but it was
being mixed. Here we go. You got
maybe
Joe.
maybe
You
he
got
sent it to.
Joanne Shell.
Oh, nice. That's my prima. What's up,
Yeah.
primas? My primas, I should say. We did Vero, so I thought we did that at Dennis's place because I remember doing stuff, but I'm trying to remember what house it was. Like I was
I
like,
don't
I want
know.
to say wooden floors, but all your houses in Santa Fe got wooden floors. Which one? I just remember the bathroom and it having the old school sink with the left and right faucets. One was cold and one was hot on the opposite ends. And it was like one of the first places. Yeah, but that's where we started recording. I don't know if we sent it out to be mixed or worked anywhere else, but I remember us recording.
I thought Manny did some stuff, taking
And
it
then
to some
you and
studio in Albuquerque. But
oh, maybe he did send it to get me. What was it?
there was that studio
Remo,
kind of,
wasn't it?
yeah,
Remo,
Remo
Remo
Records or
Records.
something like
Yeah,
that.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Shout out
And
to
then
Remo
too, I
Records.
remember shout out to Remo Records. I remember you coming with an idea too, and me helping you work out the like as far as chords and stuff like that. And then you and Carlos.
Oh, yeah, we wrote something
Let's
off of that too.
right.
Shit. This is one of the first. This is I hadn't written a song in a long time till this. Like,
Right. And I remember the lick, the lines that we were playing and stuff.
yeah, because
I'm
you
working.
wanted to do that on bass too. You wanted to just double it up.
Yeah, this one's American Dreams. This one's still relevant. It's funny, any music that makes a statement is
Man,
still
this is like
relevant for a long
how
time.
long ago, right? Was this? And that's what we were talking about. We're like, yeah, well, let's write a song about this, and like, but, and
Right.
then this is still
And
like,
it's still
yes,
an issue. It's weird. It's almost like they don't want to get rid of these problems because they sell records.
I, yeah.
They're like, it's
But
profitable,
all this
apparently.
stuff that Gilbert's playing right now, you can check us out here, nosotrosmusic.net.com. You can also go to we got a little PayPal thing here link. But if you want, you can purchase our stuff off of Bandcamp as well. And supporting artists at this time is really something that's absolutely necessary. So we appreciate you guys' support. And we're chatting with Gilbert here, the bass player of Nosotros, kind of going down memory lane a little bit. We've been doing this for the last couple of months or so, and we've just been kind of seeing where his beginnings were with the band. He kind of was originally our sound guy, roadie. Then kind of moved on up from that to basically a bass player extraordinaire, musician, jamming with all kinds of folks.
Sing now.
Um,
I sing a couple songs for the band and stuff. We
right, you started
really
singing
with the
some
new
stuff.
direction. We're kind of going for those that haven't seen us since before all this went down. We were going back to these like acoustic gigs of doing smaller lineup with Dennis, Randy, Shane, and myself and stuff with cajon and acoustic guitar and all that. So that meant that we kind of had to step up in singing and taking those responsibilities and all that stuff. So we've been really working, but now it's really great though that the band can do things like that, like move around. It's like you can see us as big as 10 to 11 people or down to 4 or 5. You know what I mean? And like having that versatility and keeping it groovy, keeping it moving and stuff, keeping it dancing, because that's always kind of been a thing since the beginning. Like you listen to the first album, Palomo and stuff, and that being more mellow. But once Felipe stepped in and you guys released Pico, it kind of picked it up and was more like about dancing. And I remember going to El Patio and like everywhere, like what was it? Like I said earlier,
The
even High
Hilton.
Des. Like you guys
Oh,
outgrew
I
High
guess it's
Desert and
different.
Cruces.
Yeah.
There was Oregon Mountain Brewery down
Mm-hmm.
there off of Picacho and stuff like that. Those places immediately, like, all of a sudden, it was like they weren't quite big enough. Even the Hilton, when we did Fridays, they started fencing it in and they were trying to
Oh,
do all this stuff
speaking
like
of the
that.
Hilton, right now
And
I'm chatting
then
with Jackie. I see Jackie is hanging out
Jackie,
there at the. Well,
what's
she's on
up?
the other part, but Yeah, Jackie's come out to the Hilton all the time. That was crazy.
right?
Those are
And
crazy nights, man.
she's old school too in that. Like I remember moving up here, and
Right?
it
She
was
goes back
Kaya
to that.
66 has been around. There was Encanto. You know, you got the
Right?
Godfathers, Son Como Son. Like there was these
Forget about
heavy
it, man.
bands that you were just like, whoa. In a way, I think that's kind of why what made us stay in doing what we do too. Everybody has their own style and their own voice, and we kind of have just done what we do, have a good time, make people dance and stuff. But I'm glad that we're part of this music community of Latin players and stuff. Like we've
Oh,
learned a lot.
absolutely,
We've all
man.
worked. We've played with other groups. Like I myself got hired to cover like one gig with Son Como Son. You've played with
Man,
you
I
had
played
a
on some
Joy. Like
original
you started
music
it
with
right.
those cats, though,
Right,
too.
you did
I've
play,
you know,
you know what I mean? And then you
like,
played with Barakutanga, which is Jackie's project too, and like that, like
oh man, so
it's
many
really
great
cool.
things.
You actually too, I got you jamming with Radio La Chusma. Remember we did a wedding with them up in Santa
Yeah,
Fe and stuff
no,
like.
man.
So it's really cool. Frontera Boogaloo, like it's really cool that like the community we step up and help each other out whenever we need to and stuff, and it really helps
I
us.
think that's more what it is for me too. Like whenever I think I know you jam with all these people. I take it more like it's I don't know. It's kind of how we have to feed our souls outside of the band, right?
Right.
In order for I think it's probably why the group has lasted so long, right? Is because we can kind of go get some side tail. No, I don't want to say it like that,
No,
but
not totally,
no,
but
but
it's in a way it
you
keeps you
could
with what you're inspired by. Like if
right.
you like, I don't really get to play reggae in nosotros, so I
Right, you
go
don't
and I'll
get to
play
play
with
another
other
style
groups,
now.
and
Right.
like we have our style, and like I can incorporate things that are reggae esque and all that, but I don't know necessarily would not be like, well, let's do a full reggae tune.
Right,
It's not
full
necessarily
on with the
nosotros.
discipline
I
of
would like,
reggae.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I would kind of mix it up with some cumbia and some other stuff, more like
Right.
what we do. We have already done that too with
But that's how we make
some
our
other
sound.
song,
That's how you
right?
make
Yeah,
your grooves for it.
but if I want full reggae, there's other bands that I can go and get to play with. Like
Yeah,
I was with
yeah.
Radio for a while. I shout out again to Radio. They're actually going to be dropping an album here soon, and they got a new
New video.
video up. Yeah, go check that out on their YouTube and stuff. Dennis posted it today because they played at his wedding 12 years ago, and what else? Yeah, they've just been homies for like a long time, and it's weird because it all comes circles. You said Liquid Cheese earlier. Dennis just mixed Steady Drop,
I saw
which
that.
is the rest of Liquid Cheese. Like you got the Dusty
Right.
Low, which is the Sullivan Brothers, and then you got like Doug and Science and Third World. I'm doing all the
California
nicknames. Yeah,
cats,
yeah, they're all
right?
out in California.
Yeah.
Marco, Marco was with Radio as well and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, it's good to see everyone continuing music, but everything is like birthed from these other projects and stuff, and like the influence that comes from that. It's like it's really cool to see everybody still doing their thing, and it still feels family style. You know what I mean? We're helping each other out. Like Dennis mixed that for them. It sounds really great. You know what I mean? And for Dennis to do reggae and stuff, it's really cool. Like we get a chance to work out different styles, like I said, that we don't normally would in this project. So it's good to feed your soul that way because it gives you perspective with stuff and
Oh yeah.
approaching. You know what I mean? When we do studio work, like we've done stuff with Chaman Tanya out in Taos. Um, I like stuff like that because as a player, you grow your discipline with that. To have an artist to tell you like, I like this, hey, but can you change this part and make it more like this and stuff? And it's like, yeah, cool. Like I wouldn't have thought about it that way. So now you just made me think about my own bass playing and my approach. So now I can be like, now for a different, whenever I get approached for something else, I might approach it that way and be like, you know what, I'm gonna try this bass line instead, and then give, usually I try to give a couple options and stuff to see what they want, but it's good to be able to do that without like putting your ego aside and being like, well, no, I don't want to change. I like what I'm playing. You're kind of like, well, yeah, but it's their tune. You don't, you know what I mean? You got to make their music sound good. It's not really about what you want. It's about what they want. And I learned
So
all that from this group because when we would write and we would get together, it was like, hey, is this cool? Like, do you like what I'm playing here? Or, hey,
right.
can you change this note? This note's actually clashing with this melody right here. And can you hear that? All right, yeah, let's
Hey,
change that.
well, let's talk a little bit about what like influences you, man. Because I mean, we're talking Latin groove, right? That's kind of what we made our living at there, and the majority of our gigs, right? All these little side gigs are cool, to add to everything. But we played quite a bit in this band. Um, But like even before that, like what are some of your influences that I mean go back and where do you think you draw from? Do you think of yourself as a bass player or what do you think of yourself as too
I
instrumentation
I
wise?
consider myself a bass player. I play piano and I play guitar, but I always think bass wise first. With everything I do with the guitar, with the keys and stuff, there's usually a bass idea behind it or something, and like, or even if I'm just writing some simple chords, like if I am just like, oh, the idea came to me on piano first, then when I go to add bass, I'm like, well, the bass has really got to kind of stand out and do something different, or like, so I consider myself a bass player first and foremost.
Okay.
And I give that up to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. When I was young, I bought who remembers Tablature books and what is it?
Yeah, no.
What
Yeah.
was the place inside the mall? Music something
Oh, dude.
in Mesilla Valley Mall. It
Yeah,
was
no, I know what
Cruces.
you're
It was
talking. I
right
don't
there
know.
when you went up the ramp by
Come
Sbarro, the
on, come on,
pizza.
bro. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
It's
It's
music
somebody from Las
something.
Cruces. What's the music
Right,
store that was in Mesilla Valley Mall like in
right.
the
And that's where we
90s,
would get
right?
tapes and CDs and stuff. And
What
they
was that
had,
place, dude? They had
yeah.
tablature books there. I
And then
forgot they had,
back, you walk to the back,
yeah.
and they had a whole rack of books and shit. And I remember like saving money, and I was like, "Oh, I need to get $25
They're
to buy the
expensive,
blood
man.
sugar." Well, it was the whole book. It was
Yeah, the whole
literally
book.
like, it had bass and tab, and it was for Blood Sugar Sex Magic by Red Hot Chili
Yeah.
Peppers. And I remember getting that on CD because when we first bought our CD, like the first time we got a CD player, and my dad's like, "You can buy one CD each." Gordo bought "Girls, Girls, Girls" by Motley Crue, and but he also bought LL Cool J Bad, and then I bought
Nice.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic by
I
Red
like
Chili.
his eclectic styles there, like the
Right.
whole
And my buddy Ben, shout out to my buddy Ben down in Cruces. He's the one, he dubbed me, he got it and then dubbed me a tape of it. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I wore the tape out. So I was like, I need to get the CD. And I was actually watching Funky Monks today, which is like the documentary of them making that album. It's really cool. It's in black and white and like how they did it and all that. But that album always just rung in my head. I learned all the guitar parts, I learned all the bass parts. And I remember learning the guitar parts first and was like, "This is cool," whatever. And like on the little guitar I bought from Mesilla Valley Music, this little $50 red guitar, and I bought it because it had one of the pointy headstocks, like a Carvin or a Charvel, or no, yeah, Charvel Jackson. Like it would look like one of those, but it was this little knockoff. And I was like, man, always wanted one of those. Like all the metalheads in Cruces played Jackson Charvel, so I was like, I want a pointy head. And buying that guitar and learning the guitar parts, and then my brother, he's left-handed and he's a bass player. He's always had issues finding bass guitars that are left-handed. Now it's a lot easier, but back in the day it was really hard. You didn't have the internet and stuff like that to just find it. And he found it was a right-handed. Like my father still has it under the bed, well taken care of back in Cruces, but it's a fretless Fender like jazz, I think it was. Yeah, it was a jazz, not a precision. And it's this really dope, kind of rare bass. Like the neck on it is felt kind of like upright and stuff. And my brother got that bass and Jaco Pastoria's style, or not, but Hendrix style, and had it flipped upside down for left, and was playing that for a while, and then I think he was gonna get another bass. So my dad's like, I want to hold on to that bass, like don't get rid of it. So he had it converted back to right-handed, and it was just sitting under the bed. So one day I picked it up and started playing this fretless bass, and I pulled that book out and started learning all these whatchamacallit. I learned all the flea bass lines from it and was like, yo, I want to be a bass player. Like after that, I was like, bass is where it's at for me. And so ever since then, I've always just kind of considered myself, because of that. When I listened to that album and I listened to the bass, like how the bass and the guitar work together,
Oh, that's a great album, man.
it
That's a
always
great
stuck out
band.
for me. Yeah, no, great band, but like I just,
What a great era
it
of
told me,
music,
it
man.
taught me a lot about how you're supposed to play. One same
Hey,
thing too when
I
my
know where
dad.
you got that at, bro. I know where you
What?
bought that book. Is this where Joe actually Sam Goody?
No, it's not Sam Goody.
It's not Sam Goody.
It was music something. It was music, like not Music World, but like
Music a go go.
something, dude. Because there was two of them. There was one.
Yeah,
There was that one, and then
I
there
don't
was another
remember
one at
Sam
the
Goody.
on the
Yeah,
other.
but And I know what you're talking. I know what you're saying, man. I know somebody knows it. So
Right, it'll come up.
sorry,
But yeah,
incorrect answer.
that book, I don't remember what happened to that book, but I remember just how I learned it from cover to cover. Man, it was just like even the last one, "They're Red Hot." Like that one, I was like, this is a really trippy song. And then I come
Right.
to it's an old Robert Johnson song, and like you listen to it now, I'm like, oh, okay, that
No, that
makes a
was a
lot of
great
sense.
band, man. So
But
that got you into kind of playing an instrument then. I mean, even though you've
right,
seen other dudes doing stuff, I think I bought my first kind of legit guitar from the Sea Valley Music, you know.
right, good old Sid
Um,
Gantz.
yeah,
Shout
you
out to
know, I
Sid.
mean, yeah, I think I bought a Hyundai. My guitar was like a Hyundai, like it was, I guess, I
Yamaha.
think it was the car, like a Hyundai got in the building, some
That
guitar,
and Yamaha.
which
Yamaha
which would
used
have
to
been
make
cool, dude. I
guitars
wish I
too.
would have kept that, bro. Like that would be like, whoa, I got a guitar made by a car company back from like
Right.
the
Well,
80s or
too, we
whatever.
used to get what was the one? Montgomery Ward or Service Merchandise in the mall used to sell guitars, kind of
Oh,
like
service
what is
merchandise. I don't
First
know.
Act now, you know. So
Yeah,
like
we're from Las
doing that.
Cruces, so you know when we do talk smack about Las Cruces, we kind of know.
Hey, I'm
I
you
love,
know
man. Come
the
on,
way
I
I feel about it is I
grew up
rep
down
New
there.
Mexico, like you know I rep Cruces, I rep Albuquerque, I rep New Mexico all around just because of how much playing we've done throughout the state and where I'm from and where I live, and like I've lived in Santa Fe, I've lived in Rio Rancho, I live in Albuquerque, lived in Cruces, you know what I mean? Like so I feel like
Yeah.
just repping the whole state, not necessarily one little spot, because to me that's as a
I know.
musician, that's
I think about how long we've been up here actually now, and it's been quite a bit, you know. And I've moved all the way up to Santa Fe here in Albuquerque, but you know, originally just even from down there, El Paso to Las Cruces, and all the styles and the vibe that we got of playing music down there. It's like you know, there's a lot of dudes down there that really play really great, you know, and really inspiring. But you know that it's just they're there in Cruces, you know, and I don't know. I don't know if we could make this transition that we did now if we were this much older in our
right.
lives. If we would be willing to go up and you know, I mean, now
Right.
it would make
To
no
me,
sense, you
the
know.
time was pretty important when we did it because, like you
If
said,
you're
you
gonna
were
do it, you're gonna do it then. You weren't gonna do it
right in
later.
your
Yeah,
20s and shit, early 30s, like not
you can kind of do
like
that.
you can bounce around a little bit, and then everybody has made homes up here. Like everybody has families. You know what I mean? We have the new Nosotros, and we got
Right.
like shout out to Jesse Joaquin Parker. Um, yeah, he was back in the day. He was part of Bitches Brew and like played with like Johnny V and stuff like the NMSU cats and stuff like that.
Yeah,
All the
man.
students. He was out in Arizona, and I remember we would go play a couple times out in Arizona. We stayed with him. We played with his group Neo Primitive and all that. Now he's with us, but he moved his family out here. Or actually, was he was already married? I want to say, and I don't know if they had their first child yet or not. But he, you know, what I mean, he was out here playing with us, and then you got Dennis had his family. Like people have made roots, like have they've planted roots here in up in northern New Mexico and stuff like that. We've made quite. I'm pretty. I feel blessed for the life that I've made
I'm pretty
myself up here.
comfortable up here.
Right? Yeah, like I
You
feel
know, I
pretty
feel pretty
blessed
good.
for what
No, and
this band has
it's been
brought.
good. Yeah, we have a lot of cool things coming out too, you know,
Right, we're
in the
still
future. We're still working some things. Some things are kind of we're still playing with how it is, right? But we're trying to be very sensitive to what's going on and be
right,
correct. You know, we want everybody to be safe and healthy, and I think we can
yes,
both of us say, please wear a mask if you're out there.
wear a
You know,
mask for
please wear your
sure.
mask when you're out in public as much as you can.
Because
Let's get over
that's
this thing so we can get back to some gigs and just
right.
that's really where that counts. And then it doesn't matter if you want to go play just wherever and have fun with your friends, you know. But if you guys are getting out there, wear the mask and make do what you got to do. You know, make it count. So,
No, totally. Well, because
uh,
everybody like we do these streams and everybody's like, play music. So that's why I started kind of playing the tunes that we can because you can't really jam together through the streaming stuff. It doesn't quite work. So
no,
it's
we
like
did like that
really
open mic. That's
yeah,
why we
we can
kind
do
of
it
had to each
individually
do
and stuff.
yeah
And we're
individually.
actually stay tuned because we are going to be doing that again, I believe, next week. So,
Yeah, and I think we want to
stay
expand these formats too, like bring in maybe some other people. Maybe we ask some friends. Maybe we start to interview a couple of other cats in the scene too as well, you know. And I
right.
figured this would be a good start to at least talk with you. You're probably one of the longest running members of the band. You know, you're definitely like in the old school genre of
Right.
it. You know, and
Well, I think that's why we've always called it the core between with you, Dennis, Shane, and myself, because it's kind of like a totem pole, like where you started the group, and then Shane has been there, and then
yeah,
you got Dennis. Dennis runs the group and like is our musical director and stuff. So
yeah,
like, and then you got me. So like we have been there for a long time, and then it makes it. I think it makes it comfortable for everybody else that plays with us now because we do have that vibe, and the business has been running for as long as it has. We don't, you know what I mean, we'll make sure we're playing our players, we'll make sure we're taking care of everybody and stuff like that. That's where I learned too for how to manage myself, going out and playing other groups and doing solo acoustic gigs was like from this group learning how to manage and what needs to be to do a show, because people want to sometimes be like, well, put on a show, and you're like, yeah, but do you know what that entails, like
I
as
know. I
far as
think sometimes
sound and
I like playing with other
everything going
people at
on. You got to
times.
think about, like, you know, I bought
Yeah,
myself a canopy recently so we could use it because sometimes we show up to gigs and they want us to play. We're sitting in the sun, and it's like you can't be doing that, you know. And then same thing, there's no water, so I bought an ice chest so we can kind of be self-contained in that, because sometimes people overlook that thing, and it's like
I
simple
know.
things like that, and you're like, that's really important. Like
It is.
I've seen footage of people playing out, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing this fest in the day," and it's like 2 in the afternoon, and there's no cover over the stage, and you're like, "Yo, dude, there's I would not have signed up
Or
for
like
that."
a dirty stage of like the way you run cables, right? You know, I
Right?
mean,
Yeah,
there's
like
a lot of
it's
things I feel like when I go to play with other people, I might be like, oh, you know, but I'm like, there's a reason for the madness to try to clean that madness up, you
right.
know,
We've
because
always kept
yeah,
good on
that's how
that when
our gear
people.
lasts really a long time because it's expensive to buy cables, you know, and we can't afford to just be going through cables or
Right.
cymbals dropping on cords
And
because that
right.
cuts cables in half like easy, man. You know, like
We've had so many things like that happen too. We're like when you guys did the reunion show, and they were talking about when Justin fell asleep and when they were driving back, and like Dennis looks over at him and he's like, "Hey, wake up," and all that. There was that time too when Dennis just got that custom set from Remo. Chris helped him get that set that was like the sparkly glitter paint, and it
uh-huh.
was like it was something with like they made it and then they ended up not going through with the order, so it was like discounted for this really good drum set, and then Dennis got it, and we hadn't even had it for like a month or something. And I remember one of the toms falling out of the back. Like we got back to the Comanche house to unload, and it was like, "Hey, where's this other tom?" And oh, did that shit fall out of the back of the truck? It fell out of the back of
Oh,
Dennis or of Justin's truck, and it was gone. Like we never got it back. But it was just like, oh man, like you have stuff like that, or where you see, like you said, a cymbal falls over and you see it just cut the cable right in half. Bam. You're like, damn. Or if you have a bad cable and you're trying to figure your shit out, you're like, oh, what's going on? And like, so to me, that's all part of like the sound and everything is all part of just as important as the playing. Like if you're gonna spend your time practicing 6 hours a day, well, spend like an hour
oh
like learning about
man,
sound reinforcement,
totally,
learning
bro.
about how to get things. Like we've recently got into like in-ear monitors and stuff like that, and we've been like amazed of what a difference it makes. And we're like, we should have been doing this years ago and stuff. And that's too where we've learned from other bands that we've been inspired by. Like we get to play a show with them, and we see how they're doing their stuff, and we're like, oh, that's great.
Oh, we got a
Like,
lot of
you know what
work
I
to
mean?
do,
Yeah,
you
like we got just
know.
stuff
So,
like with that whole
yeah.
video with Will playing with Ozo Motley. We've managed to play a couple times with them, and every time it's been a great experience because we get to be there and see what's going on.
I
And now
sucked
we go
last
and
time.
we can apply that to us. Oh, hey, you know what? We need to get inners. We need to get this.
Oh, bro, I
We
said
should really
totally.
do this and
I'm
step
gonna
up our
mess
game
around.
for this. And like, to me, that's all part of the growth of being a musician. Like, you can't just spend all your time on your instrument and expect that's what's going to get you
Right.
everywhere you need to go. You're like, no, even this now, what we're doing, this whole streaming game here is a whole other thing. Like, I got this set up here so I can play music. In fact, let's get back to a little bit of, you know, tunes. Like we got this tune here that we redid. I'm really happy I got to play on this because this is an old track. This was off of Pico originally that Shane wrote. And when we came to doing this album, we were like, let's do it with the big group, you know? This is Las Brasas on the album En El Más Allá. You can check it out on our website, nosotrosmusic.com. But you know that's an old tune that we revamped with the new band because it was such a different lineup and a whole different vibe and all that. But even for me to do that for you guys right now tonight, I have a whole board set up here. In fact, let's see if I can move. I have all this right here.
Whoa.
And I have a laptop right here, and then I have my mic, and then I have my light over here and stuff. There's a lot to it. So like we've been spending the last few weeks.
I'm not wearing any pants, so
right. that's what we practice.
That's
also.
my contribution.
We learned that the hard way. But you know we've been doing this for a few weeks now, and each time we're like changing things up and like adding things to make it better and all that. And that's part of what it is now. You got online lessons that are going on with people, and so you got to really know how to do video things and streaming and how to get audio clean. And that's part of being a musician now. Like it's not just now we're like, okay, I'm gonna play my bass and I'm gonna play my guitar or my keyboard or whatever. It's like now I got to really step up my game as far as video and audio and all that. I got to do this research and really learn it. And to me, it's only going to.
I need to get me some cans, dude. So I look like you. I have my whole setup. I'm gonna be set up next time.
I'll wear my Shure in-ears, but I didn't want to. Like I'm still getting used to putting them in.
No, the Shures are nice.
They're nice. But they take a minute to kind of like maneuver it inside.
You got to be in it,
15 minutes. Literally, when I bought them, it took me like 15 minutes to figure out how to get them shits in.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
There's a certain way you'll see it, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool. But
so I was using my Presonus cans. Like I said, tonight's brought to you
tonight. I just went with these. Behringer.
We got Apple.
Yeah,
Mac,
Apple. Yeah, right. These guys ain't giving us nothing, but that's why we're running these little banners underneath. We got the PayPal, right? You know, if you feel inclined, check us out there. Also, you can go to the Bandcamp, right? Bandcamp is a good place to support the artist. Check us out. Check out the thousands of other artists on that site, and you can buy a song from them. You can listen to it a couple of times if you really dig it. You know, maybe give them a few bucks more than what they're asking for it. And that's the way we can support everybody. I don't know, Gil. I think maybe we should go ahead and is there a couple of tunes that you might want to point out before we call it an evening, and we can kind of see what we're gonna do. I want to thank you guys for tuning in here.
Let's see here. We've I don't know. There's like tons of music that I can play if y'all want to hear. We should just do like a throwback night of like where we can look at some of these old recordings because I have some of this stuff with Felipe, and like we got a lot of stuff on YouTube. You know, check out our latest videos. You can see, like if you look through.
Hey, you don't happen to have?
Sorry, no, go.
I was gonna say you don't happen to have the newest one we did with Tanya, do you? Somos Inmigrantes. Can you check that out? That would be kind of cool. That's something we haven't, it's out there. We've played it. We actually got a nomination for it at the for the New Mexico Music Awards. Right. Something she wrote, and then Dennis arranged it with the band.
Let's see.
But that's something you can get from us off of our website, nosotrosmusic.net. You can also go to PayPal.
Let me see. I think I actually have it in my Dropbox, because Dropbox is cool, but Dropbox doesn't work on everything. So
And I got a few people commenting on my own page because I made a watch party. So we've got Colin out there. He's saying, R.I.P. Dave. We got Ziggy. Ziggy was watching earlier.
What up, Ziggy? Ziggy's part of the new Nosotros lineup.
Ziggy, definitely. We'll chat with him too. He's got a lot of things, and these guys in their different perspectives. I'd be interested in seeing how it is being in the band and what's been going on since we've had this whole thing kind of go down. And we hope everybody's doing well out there. But and we do have some other content coming out here really soon. But
right, I'd like to have like whatchamacallit, I'd like to do like where we kind of radio show where we play tunes, but like classic tunes, and then maybe give out prizes for people that can tell us the name of the songs. Because we do a lot of repertoire. Like there's songs that we do where people have been like, "Oh, that's a really great song. Did you guys write it?" And we're like, "No, that's actually written by like one of the bad. Like you haven't heard that
Right,
song
right,
before?
right,
Like
right.
that's like one of the baddest salseros
Oh, I
to ever
know.
live, or
Or when we were
something."
doing all that Gypsy King stuff back in the day, people thought like we were writing
Right.
that stuff,
Did
and
you
we're
write
like,
so like
no.
it'd be cool to maybe do some trivia and be like, who did
Yeah.
the original of this? I'm trying to find. I thought I had Todos Somos. Let me see here. That is a good one because we just recently have done more work with Tanya. And here we go.
Cool.
Let's see. What? Does it want me to download it? Can I not just stream it from? Here, let me see what I mean.
Right.
So now we got to get everything. My goodness, I'm not able to find it. I do.
Womp, womp,
I
womp.
I do have
Bum.
this one.
Any,
And
any,
we've managed to make a lot of great
you
friends
don't have
along the way.
any of those noises, funny noises?
I do. But there's this one with Tony Lujan and a whole array of really amazing musicians. This is really kind of a blessing to be on this track. This is Nosotros with Tony Lujan and Asdru Sierra and a whole other bunch of people. But this is myself on bass, Ricky Carrido on bata and percussion, Jesse on vibes, and then Shane and you, and then myself on bass, Dennis on drums. I haven't heard this one in a while.
I know. It's kind of pretty.
Right. Exclusively on nosotrosmusic.com. Well, not exclusively, but you're hearing it here on Nosotros Facebook. En el día de los muertos, de un momento a un segundo, se muere gente por todo el mundo y a la tumba, ahí vamos todos. Finalmente. That's kind of cool. It's kind of like a Katama kind of vibe. Totally. Been a while. It's crazy when I always trip out when I listen to like recordings that I've been on because it's weird. Like I almost don't recognize it. Well, I'm like, I did this? I'm like, damn. I'm like, wow, cool. Maybe I don't suck that bad. Like, there's Shane Dirk on guitar. Cool. All right, I found.
That's cool.
And that one's
cool, man.
Tumba. Here we go. Here's some.
Yeah. Well, let's play us out with this one from Tanya Gilbert, and then we'll call it a night, and we'll let people hear this one out. And thank you guys for joining us. Check it out.
Let's see how much it'll play.
Right on.
And that's our hermana Chama Tanya out in house. Mr. Glenn Contreras on vocals.
porque todos somos inmigrantes, porque todos somos
Yeah, this is a good tune. Awa! What do all these songs, the last two songs, what do they have in common with each other? I'll tell you. They were recorded at FW Studios in Santa Fe by Mr. Dennis Hassel, our drummer and MD. So if you have any musical recordings that need to be done and you're in Santa Fe, hit them up. FW Studios. Listen to that. I trust him with all my bass lines. And again, this song is relevant still. That's right. Did you hear that? Wait, what was that? Say it again. One more time. Wait, I didn't quite understand you. What was that? That's right. Todos somos inmigrantes. That was Mr. Ziggy Garcia on the trumpet.
Nice.
That's Mr. Camilo Quiñones on timbal. Drop that 5.
Yeah, this is this year a nomination for this year's Music Awards, New Mexico Music Awards.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that tune.
Yeah, it's a good tune. You can find that at our website, nosotrosmusic.com, for only 99 cents if you like that
Nice,
song.
nice,
You
nice.
can find our whole catalog there. Go check it out. We got videos on YouTube.
All right.
If you're loving Nosotros, make sure you show your support.
Right.
Right now, digitally is the best way to support Nosotros by going online and all that stuff. And, the minute we can get out and play for you again in a public setting, once we get guidelines and we figure everything out, you will be the first to know, everybody. We will put it up immediately because we are anxious to get out just as much as you are to get out and dance to our music. We're
Definitely
anxious to get out and play. But right now, like I said, we want to kind of follow the rules and make sure that everyone's staying safe. Everyone in the band, I believe, recently has been affected by COVID in some form or some way. So you either know somebody or a friend or relative. We've all been affected by it some way. So we definitely want to be respectful of that and make sure we're wearing our masks and all that stuff. That's why we haven't gone out and done too much for you guys, just because we don't, we want to follow some rules and make sure we stay healthy. So this way, when we do get out and play again, we have the strength.
we won't stop.
Right?
we
won't
stop.
have any kind of, because we haven't had any breaks really as far as making music other than this, which was something that we needed to do because we were asked to do. But like, we've never just willingly been like, hey, we're going to take a couple months off. Even when we were writing albums and like working on stuff, we always managed to maintain a full,
we were really busy
performance schedule and then still get the recordings and the albums and the videos done. And we're still, right now we're doing some videos. We're working with AMP Concerts to do the postcards from Santa Fe and all that. That should be out here. Just keep an ear to the ground. Check us out here at nosotrosmusic.com and at AMP Concerts and all that. And it'll be out when it's out, and you'll see it. You won't miss it. Since everybody's at home on their computer, you'll see it as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, and hey, Gil, I want to thank you for coming on, letting us know a little bit about the your story there, coming in with the band. We'll come back. I think we'll be back on next Thursday, if not the Thursday after that for sure. But we're gonna do something special, and we'll let you guys know what's up. So
Right. Which
anyway,
doing some live music, right? Again.
maybe.
Something like that. Yeah. There's some ideas running
Maybe.
around. I think we were gonna have one of those the dogs that balances themselves on the
We
beach
might
ball.
talk with somebody else, except us. Who knows? But we
Right,
might do
yeah.
some music, so we're gonna figure it out. But anyway, you guys, peace out. All right, we'll talk to y'all soon. Nosotros out.
We thank y'all.